Can anybody be an animator? It's the age-old question. It's a very interesting question, and I've been in many conversations about that very topic throughout my entire career. In fact, I was just talking about that like 2 months ago at Disney. It's interesting because everybody has a completely different answer. And I think that's, my answer, I have an answer based off of my experiences from learning animation as a student in university to going to TV, commercials, and then to eventually feature animation in VFX and feature animation at Disney and Sony and whatnot. And I feel like I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of animators, and I've seen a lot of successes and failures, not only in my careers, but in the careers of other people, beginning all the way from college. I feel like college is where you see a lot of people not make it. And then in TV series, you also feel like there's a bunch of people who are not where they want to be. It begs the question, why do some people succeed? And then why do other people fail? I think if you say, no, not everybody can be an animator, you are, putting animation on this pedestal, and you're kind of talking down to people like, hey, I'm an animator, I can do things that you can't, right? And that doesn't feel like the right answer. But if you were to say, yes, anybody can be an animator, I think my initial reaction is, well, is that true? Because I know a lot of people that have tried this and failed. I know a lot of people that want to be an animator, but they're not. So what do you do with that? Well, in this video, I'm going to try to answer this question, and I'm going to give you my brutally honest answer. Can anybody be an animator? I think yes. Yes, but it's going to look different for everybody. For some people, it will be easy. But for some other people, unfortunately, it will be very difficult for them to be animators. However, it's not impossible. I genuinely believe that you can do anything you put your mind to. I genuinely believe if you have the passion and if you commit yourself to your goal, you can achieve it. And this doesn't apply just to animation. I believe this applies to anything. Like, if you really want it, and if you put in the time and the energy and you're passionate about it, like, you can do it. You can do it for sure. That being said, I know a lot more people who have failed at animation than have succeeded. And in this video, I want to detail why I think people succeed, but most people actually fail. So let's get into it. So how do you become an animator? Well, to oversimplify it, you have to get good at animation. And the way that you get good at animation is to learn it and then to do it. It's the same as getting good at anything else. You have to learn how to do it, and then you have to practice it, and then you can become the thing you want to be. With animation, same process. You have to learn animation, learn the principles of animation, learn appeal, learn filmmaking, learn storytelling, right? I mean, there's a lot there. It actually is a lot. But you have to learn it, and then you have to do it. Then you have to apply it. You put it into practice. When you make a drawing, when you do an animation shot, they're all different, but they all kind of have an objective, right? There's a point of why it exists, and you as an artist have to discern, how do I use what I learned and apply it in practice? And it's in the process of continually learning and doing and learning and doing, because it's not a straightforward process. You learn and then you do it badly, but then you learn something new and then you try to apply it, and then you learn something new from applying it, and then you're back here, and then you learn and then you do it to the next thing, and it's like constantly learning and doing. And through that process, you eventually find yourself becoming a good animator, becoming a good artist. Now, between the learning and the doing, I believe that the practicing, the doing, is the most important part. You have to practice it. You have to do it. You actually have to open Maya and animate. You have to then show your work to other people. It's very, very important that you actually do these things. There's no getting around it, right? There's no way that you can just learn everything you can learn about animation, and then you watch all the videos, you watch the tutorials, you read all the books, and then somehow, without doing it, what? You get a job at Sony? A job at Disney? No, like, of course not. Like, you can't, that's impossible, right? You have to learn what there is to learn, but then you become by doing it. You have to practice animation, and you have to practice in a way that actually gets you better at animation. And here's how to do it. You've heard of the 10,000 hour rule, right? Malcolm Gladwell popularized the idea that to master any domain, not just animation, anything at all, if you want to get good at anything, you have to put in 10,000 hours. And it's quite correct. And I've heard this applied to drawings as well. 10,000 drawings, right? Oh, you have 10,000 bad drawings in you and you just gotta get it out. It's the same thing with animation, but I wanna add that it's not exactly 10,000 hours, it's 10,000 iterations. And iterations is just basically finding a new way to do the same thing. Finding a creative or different way to do the same thing. And it's in that process of you trying these new things to do the same thing that you will discover why certain decisions are better than others, why certain things look better than others. And you get that through the experience of trying out, of iterating choices and principles, of different ways to doing it. And eventually you will see it. You will see more through that practicing, getting through the bad drawings and having like one really good drawing and then understanding, oh, this is what I did here. That's why it looks better. And people are reacting to this a lot better than my other iterations. And then you build upon that and you build upon that. And so you have to do the practice after the learning, right? And so the good news is that this is the process that every single animator, every single artist has had to go through in the history of the world, right? Nobody's born knowing how to animate. Even the 9 old men, Glenn Keane and all the other amazing animators out there right now, all these legendary animators, at one point in time, they knew nothing about animation and they had to learn it too. And their process is the same as your process, the same as my process. You learn and then you practice and then you can become. Going back to the question of can anybody be an animator? The answer is yes, provided you learn and then you do. So where's the problem? The problem would be if you didn't learn properly or if you didn't do it properly. That sounds very oversimplified, but I believe that anybody can learn and do. The only problem is that some people, they don't find the time to be able to either learn or do because of obligations or because of other reasons. And it's because they haven't gotten through these two sections that they've been able to get to the end of it. And I believe it's because of 4 things. I believe 4 things are gonna impact whether you succeed or fail in the learning or the doing. So let's get into those 4 things. These 4 things are going to impact your ability to learn and practice animation. Broadly, I have them as nature, nurture, current state, and passion. Some of these are pretty obvious, but I'm gonna break it down of how I see these 4 things impacting people's ability to put in the time to actually get good at animation, which, like I said before, I think anybody can do it. But the fact that not everybody has done it is because of one of these 4 things. Let's start with nature. I think that everybody is born completely different from everybody else, with a different skill sets, with a different personality, and with just different proclivities of likes and dislikes. And I think that some people are born with a proclivity towards art and other people have a proclivity against art or they don't care about it as much as they like other things, which is fine. I believe that people are born with a love of art and maybe even the ability to see colors a little bit differently. Not too differently, but like you could see, I think lighters can see color way better than I can, basically. But that being said, I also apply this to rate of learning. I think some people are born smarter than others. I think that people are born more physically gifted than others. I think people are born more artistically gifted than others. Now, obviously you can't prove this, and it's not something that you can control either, right? And so this is a roll of the dice. But I believe that most people who are artists, they, from a young age, liked art. They liked drawing, they liked doing these things, you know? And it's not a surprise when they want to pursue these passions that they've had in their childhood later in their adult life. I believe that people are different, and that's really good. I believe people have different tastes, and that's really good as well, right? Like when you have an artist that wants to make art a certain particular way, it's like, who are you to tell them like, oh, you shouldn't do your art in that style, or it shouldn't look that way. I feel like that's one of the joys of being an original individual artist. And that, I think you're born with that. And of course, you can be shaped by the next topic, but I believe from the beginning, some people will like animation more than others. So in that part, you can't really control, but it is a factor, and I want to mention that. So nature, that's the first thing that affects how you learn and do things, because maybe you naturally want to learn animation. Maybe you naturally want to do animation, and that can increase your chances of actually succeeding. So that's the first one, nature. Second one, nurture. That's your environment. That is also out of your control. Your environment, of course, includes your childhood and the house you grew up with, the parents that you grew up with, the friends that you had growing up. All of these things, like I said, you can't really control them, but like they happen pretty frequently to people that they grew up in a very artistic household. Like maybe one of their parents was an artist, or maybe they went to a really good art school just because they were born in an area that had art as like something that was celebrated, you know? And I believe that that also is further encouraged if you have supportive parents, if you have supportive family and siblings and friends. So the environments can increase your ability to actually do art. And a lot of people who are encouraged to do art and they're praised for it as kids, I feel like, you know, that would just make you love art even more, right? And so that's out of your control, the environments, the people, but also your opportunities of being able to be in an animation school. You know, I myself had animation classes in high school. I know a lot of people didn't have that, right? And so that was part of what was around me. That was part of the school that my parents enrolled me in. And I took animation classes when I was a little bit younger. And I think that that was ultimately a good thing. And I'm lucky that that was my environment, but that does impact, right, how soon I began learning animation. Like I started probably a little bit earlier than college students would have, but that impacted my exposure to animation, and that impacted my learning and doing because I did it at a younger age. And so, yeah, that's a huge factor. Nurturing. Are you in a nurturing environment? Did people encourage you? Did you have access to things? These are things, like I said, outside of your control, but it's a huge factor of how you get exposed to animation or art and how you were encouraged as you were growing up to do more and more of the things. So nature and nurture, those are the first two things that are completely outside of your control, but it's a huge, huge factor in how you advance as an animator. So these last two things are more in your control, I would say. And that would be your current state and your passion for animation. So let's start with the current state. Current circumstances is what I broadly call where you're at in life right now. What obligations do you have to your family? Maybe your spouse, maybe your kids, maybe your parents. What time obligations do you have that prevent you from working on your animation at nighttime? And this is very specific to everybody, right? You could be at a different place in life. And like I said, there's no shortcut to putting in the time to learn and do animation. And if you just don't even have the time to even start to do one of those things, right? It can be very difficult for you to progress, if at all. In addition to that, where do you live? What opportunities are around you? Are you willing to relocate to Vancouver or Montreal or California, right? Like these things are also part of the current circumstances of your life. Are you in a country that doesn't have animation? Are there no animation schools available? Are you not able to financially afford animation school and instruction and classes? It's very difficult sometimes, I think, for people to have access to any of these things. And so that's a huge factor. I think that's probably one of the biggest factors to learning and doing animation. And it's tough. This is what I mean by it's more difficult for other people. Some people it's easier, right? For some people it's a lot tougher. And even though I believe it's possible, like I believe anybody can be an animator, But one of the biggest roadblocks would be your current circumstances. I believe that if you want it hard enough though, you could get through these current circumstances and to put in the time to get good at animation, if that is your passion. Now, passion is the most important factor of all. I believe that if you had none of the other three, and if you had pure passion, you would move mountains to be able to become an animator. And I believe that there are people out there that will prioritize animation over everything else and make that sacrifice to become an animator, to put in the time to do it. And I believe they will succeed, but that's gonna cost you, right? Like that's gonna cost you time and money. It might cost you relationships. And ultimately, it's gonna be up to you whether or not those things are worth it, right? This is a consideration that everybody has to make for themselves. Is it worth it for you to spend this amount of time and money at the cost of not being able to have time for your relationships, your kids, or like your other obligations? I feel like that's huge, you know, and some people out there probably will do that, you know? Most people won't, but some people will. And that's why I say that, yes, I think anybody can be an animator, because if you are passionate enough about it, you will make these tough decisions to put in the time and energy to learn animation, no matter where you're at in life. For a person who is in their prime condition of all these things, prime condition, best possible case scenario, if their nature and their nurture were absolutely amazing and they started animation, their current circumstances was at like 18, they started it and they were super passionate about it, right? This is the best possible scenario. That person probably make it within like 3 or 4 years. The flip side of that would be something like a person who has zero innate artistic talents. They don't learn things that quickly. They were in an environment that didn't encourage it, and their current circumstances only allow them to learn animation at like maybe putting in 2 hours a week or something. That's still something, and it's not impossible, but it's gonna cost that person a lot more than the other person, right? One of these is a much more easier path. The other one's more difficult, but it's possible is what I'm saying if you're passionate about it. Passion is the most important principle of these 4 categories. If you love it, if you want it, I don't think anything can stop you, but it's a question for you. Is it worth it? Is it worth the cost? Because it will cost you something. It will cost you a lot, maybe, but is it worth it? Do you really want it? And if so, then yes, I believe you can do it. Seriously. So with that all being said, can anybody be an animator? I think so, yes, but it's gonna look different for everybody. It depends if you have the nature for it, if you have that natural proclivity to it, if you were nurtured into being encouraged with arts and then being in environments where you were able to freely express and explore these loves. I think that those 2 things would be amazing for you to start doing this professionally. And if you start to consider current circumstances and your passion for things, these factors will increase or decrease your likelihood of putting in the time to do animation. Like I said, it takes time. You have to learn it. You have to do it. There's no shortcut. Absolutely 0 shortcuts. And so the only thing holding people back are their circumstances and whether or not they really want it, I believe. Because nature and nurture, you can't really control, but you can kind of control current circumstances and your passion. And I believe that, seriously, if you want it enough, you can do it. You can make it. Can anybody be an animator? Yes, I think so, but you're gonna have to figure out your own path yourself. Good luck if that's what you're trying to do. I'm gonna keep making more videos. In my next video, I'm going to outline how I made it from Rooster Teeth to Disney animation, how I made it from TV animation to feature animation, everything I learned in between that, all the struggles, all of the plateauing of my skill sets. I went through it all, and I see some of my friends going through it. I see younger animators, junior animators, student animators going through it, and I want to help these people because I've been there, and I'm going to make videos hopefully that will help you guys understand how to progress as an animator, how to kind of navigate the industry, and all the things that I've learned about it. So yeah, that's coming up. I'm going to make more of those videos. Subscribe so you don't miss those videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.